How about now? Can you hear me now? Am I audible now? I didn't realize that I have not selected the audio input because I'm using a different laptop as well. My laptop is in the other room. So as you can see, okay, that's great to know that you can hear me now. Yeah, I forgot to select the audio input. So I have added that as well. So yeah, I'm streaming from a different room because in my room the ceiling is leaking. So we have informed the letting agents and they're working on it. So yeah, I won't be able to stream or work from that room. That is usually my office room. So um, yeah, so I'm working from the other room. So the setup is also a bit different. I'm using my wife's laptop because this one has a better camera than mine. Of course, I'm not able to use my camera properly, but this camera is perfectly fine. So now that everything is working fine, please let me know your questions in the chat and I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. And if you have anything else in general to discuss about, we can discuss about that as well. Okay, we are waiting for any questions in the chat, but yeah, as always, I will wait for just over 5 minutes and see if there are any questions because I did see um, not exactly question but just an inquiry in the Telegram group asking whether there will be a live Q&A today or not. So I'm assuming there are questions, but I don't think he's been able to join join the live Q&A as of yet. So yeah, I'll give it a minute or two so that he can join and ask questions if needed. I'm seeing few other people joining, so let's see. Hello, I'm planning to study MSc AI and want to start learning machine learning, but I don't know where I should start. Do I have to learn statistics first? So there are different ways that you can learn machine learning. The first one is the applied part. So if you just want to implement some algorithm and see how they work, you don't really need to know statistics that much. You can try to learn about sklearn package and just very brief intro to each algorithm, like what they are meant for, what they do best, and in what scenarios you should use them. And once you know all those things, work on simple classification or regression problems, try to implement them, and then see the results. Once you have understanding of those things, then you can maybe start to look into the nitty gritty of each and every algorithm, like how the maths work, how the statistics are applied to analyze the output, and things like that. So that could be the next level of understanding those algorithm. So That is one approach. The other approach is you take everything step by step. So first you learn Python programming, and then you go for statistics and mathematics. So uh, brush up all your concepts, and then you start learning the machine learning algorithms, and you take one algorithm at a time, and then you dissect that algorithm to the finer details. And once you have understood that specific algorithm, you implement a project on that, and then you move on to another algorithm. So that is another way of learning. So different people choose different way of learning. So whatever works best for you, you can choose that. But yeah, it all depends on your learning style. So you don't necessarily need to know maths and stat before you jump into machine learning. But if you want to understand things in a greater detail, then certainly, yeah, you need to know maths and stat. And of course, when you will be applying for jobs and going through interviews, there will be some tricky questions that you will only be able to answer if you understand how each and every algorithm work and what is the math and stat behind those algorithms. So, Paul, you here last week? You weren't. Yeah, I couldn't do live Q&A last week. When learning statistics too, we need to memorize the formulas to implement them in ML. Not necessarily, because if you want to implement something, you can always do a quick Google search and you can get those equations. You don't necessarily need to remember those equations. All you need to know is what are the parameters in that equation, and when you change one specific parameter, how the algorithm react to it, and what are the situations or the nature of the data that that algorithm is able to handle properly. But then if you put that same algorithm in other situations, it might not be able to work best. So you need to know the pros and cons of each algorithm, and understand hyperparameters in greater detail. So if you change one hyperparameter, how the algorithm is going to react. So you just need to know those things. You don't need to remember the formula, because it's just a Google search away. I think there's approximately 20-minute lag. So when I say something, or when I see a message, or when you send a message in the chat, I see it probably after 20 seconds, 20-25 seconds. So yeah, there is a bit of a lag. So how is the market these days for UK as well as US? Um, don't know about US because I have not looked into it. In the UK though, I think the market is stabilizing a bit from past couple of months. So the number of jobs posted or the statistics posted on Office of National Statistic shows that the number of jobs in the market is approximately same from past 2 to 3 months. So I would say the job market has stabilized a bit, because previously every month the number of jobs in the market was reducing. So yeah, I would say the market is certainly a bit stable. Can you tell me briefly what are the stuff they may ask in interviews for a junior entry level data science role? Um, it could vary quite a lot from company to company and from team to team. So it is a difficult one to uh, answer, but in general, they will ask about some fundamentals of Python, like how will you handle a particular data set, and if there are issues in the data set. So things like your data cleaning process, what all steps do you take? So for example, handling missing values, handling outliers, if the data is imbalanced, how will you handle those things? So those kind of basic questions. And then after that, of course, if it's a data science role, you might be involved in some machine learning. Well, when you actually join the company, you will probably be doing a lot of data cleaning. But uh, if I think you're lucky, you should be able to work on machine learning projects as well. So if that is the case, they may ask you difference between supervised and unsupervised, classification, regression, and they may not ask you to directly explain how, for example, logistic regression works or linear regression works. They may not ask you like this. They probably will give you a use case, and then you will have to explain them the process, like how will you take that data, what all transformations you will make, how will you divide the data into test, train, test, and split. And if you choose to, I mean, you should mention like what is the ratio that you will use. It could be 70/30, it could be 80/20. They may ask you why are you using this particular splitting methodology. Sometimes you'll have to do stratified sampling. So there are a lot of different ways of doing those things. So they may ask you questions on your approach. And then when you go on to choosing a particular algorithm, they may ask you why are you choosing this particular algorithm. And then once you've answered those things, then you will have to evaluate the data. So you could use random cross validation, or you could use grid search cross validation. So if you choose to choose one of them, you may have to answer why did you choose. So anything that you will say in the interview, they may ask you why, reasoning behind it. You should not just say that I have only used this one, so I only know this one, so um, that's why I'm using it. You need to give a proper justification as to I think this is a good reason. And sometimes you may choose a wrong step, which is fine, but if you're able to give them that reasoning and a thought process behind why you are choosing a particular algorithm or a particular step, it will be fine. So it's highly likely that you won't pick all the algorithms that they have in mind or they think is the best algorithm to choose from. But if you are able to do it, probably that's good. But you will also need to think that even the interviewer doesn't know everything. So maybe you sometimes know a bit more about them, and the algorithm that you are choosing is probably the better one than what they have in their mind. And if you're able to justify it, it's all good. So yeah, those are some of the things that they may ask, and they may ask you about deployment as well, and how will you monitor after the deployment. So some of those things they may not ask you those things, because in a lot of the companies they have a separate MLOps team, and that team usually handles all of these things. But if it's a small company, they may ask you these questions as well. So I hope that helped. It was more than a brief reply, I think, but I hope I was able to explain. So 2027, is it best for UK? 27 is quite far, but and we don't know. what's going to happen in 2027. But looking at 2025, well, 2025 is almost done, so the market is certainly a bit more stable. And if it stays like this throughout 2026, then I would say, yeah, I think 2027 can be a year of, let's say, recovery, and hopefully there will be more jobs in the market. I'm about to graduate in BSc Computer Science and want to do MS in AI and data science either in Germany or the UK. Should I pursue data science in Gen AI or data engineering to get an entry level? Mm, that's a good question. Because usually when you think about it, even if you are getting interviewed for a role which mentions AI, ML engineer or data scientist, if you are applying for a entry level role, most likely be working on data engineering stuff. So what I would suggest is, I would always suggest to go for data science courses rather than just data engineering courses, because in data science you will be covering all of these things like data engineering, data analysis, machine learning, deep learning. So all of those things will be covered. But when you are working on your side project, or when you have some time and you are trying to learn, focus quite a lot on how to handle large amount of data, because these days in all the companies you rarely see a data that can fit in an Excel sheet. Usually you will be dealing with large amount of data. So learn about those things, how to data engineer the big data, and then how to use the data for further steps. So in my personal opinion, I would always lean towards data science, Gen AI, and machine learning side of things. But for entry level role, um, you should spend quite a bit time on data engineering side of things, just so you are interview ready. And once you answer, I think, all the questions properly in data engineering, I think interviewers should be in a good position to make their mind. And then based on your experience or knowledge, you can always answer things about machine learning and AI as well. So yeah, that will increase your chances, because if you're not able to answer questions related to data engineering, there is no way you will be going to next steps like machine learning and AI. You'll probably be out in the first step itself. So, and when I say steps, it could probably be just 1 hour interview, and the first half hour can be on data engineering. And if you don't answer things properly, they may ask you some basic questions in machine learning and AI side of things. And by this time, they probably would have made their mind already that they probably don't want to move forward. So that's why I say focus a bit more on data engineering side of things, but also learn about Gen AI. Not just Gen AI, AI in general. Can they ask lead code type questions even for? Yes, definitely. When I was appearing for various interviews, I applied for jobs ranging from entry level to pretty senior level roles as well. And not just for entry level roles, sometimes I had to solve hacker rank, hacker lead code type of problems for senior roles as well. And in one interview, well, my previous job, so for that interview, they even asked me to solve some problems like in front of them. So it was not like, this is the problem you need to solve and uh, send us the test cases. So I had to solve the problem in front of them. So sometimes they can do those things as well. So yeah, be prepared to uh, maybe write code or solve problems in those environment. So yeah, you need to be aware of at least one. If you are comfortable with lead code, that's fine. Usually you should be able to adapt to other platforms as well. They are pretty much same. But lead code definitely has a lot of good problems, and if you are able to solve at least medium level problems, I think you will be in a good position to be able to solve the problems in the interview. So MS in AI is no doubt the best choice. Yeah, I mean, if you have interest in AI, certainly it is the best choice. So if I had to personally pick a course or go for masters today, I would always choose data science and AI for my masters. So I think that is the best case, or the best choice for me. But for someone who would want to be a software developer, or they have interest in, let's say, cybersecurity, for them, maybe MSc in AI won't be the best choice. So it depends from person to person, interest to interest, and yeah, what do you like to work on? So, what about the immigrant protests going on these days? I think it has cooled off a bit. So, yeah, I'm not necessarily seeing them quite a lot. It happened, I think, last month or probably before that. But yeah, there is some negative sentiment around immigration, mostly in people, and I think it is because of the media coverage and different political parties. They don't know exactly what to do to resolve some of the economical issues, so they need something to blame on, and they're probably blaming it on immigration. And I don't think it's entirely wrong to say immigration is the cause, but immigration is not the only reason why there are so many issues, and probably immigration is one of the least uh, contributing factor, if I could say so. And actually, on the contrary, because of immigration, there are quite a lot of jobs that are still being done. And if they stop immigration, they will have a lot of skill shortage. So it will probably be a bigger problem if they take a pretty hard step towards stopping the immigration altogether. What they need to probably focus on is how to make most out of these asylum seekers and illegal immigration, how to stop illegal immigration. And I'm fully in support of government to stop illegal immigration, because it is not good for any country, to be honest. And even in India, this problem is there. Illegal immigration, people coming from different neighboring countries, so we know it firsthand. So yeah, we don't know what's going to happen next year in terms of rules, regulations, and policies, but certainly government is probably take a pretty strict or hard action towards immigration. And I think if they do it too hard, it may backfire, but that's just my opinion. I know data science has a big scope like data analytics, data engineering, ML, AI engineer among them, which are currently having the most job listings. And I don't think I have looked into the distribution of the job, because when you search for data science, you will definitely see more number of jobs as compared to the job which specifically says data analyst role or data engineer role or ML engineer role. So I would say data science roles are the most popular ones, and for good reason, is because when you put data science in the job description, by default you are including all the others as well. So why put something very specific unless the role is very specific? So that's that. But when it comes to data analyst engineer and AIML engineer, I would say they have a pretty equal split, because you cannot have just ML engineer without having a data engineer who can actually manage the data for you. So I would say one to one relationship would be there in data engineer and ML engineer. Data analyst is a bit tricky one. Sometimes companies may not want to use all the fancy stuff. All they care about is just analyzing the data. So and to analyze the data, you first need to structure it. So probably you will be doing a bit of data engineering, not like full-fledged managing the whole data architecture and handling huge amount of data, but you will need to do bit of data engineering there as well. So yeah, it's difficult to tell the split, but I would say all the three that you have mentioned, data analyst, data engineer, and AIML engineer, they should be pretty much same. I think the protest in the UK has changed from protesting against illegal immigrants to protest against all type of immigration. That's why the government are targeting the legal route as well. Exactly, yeah, I totally agree. That's how it was, protesting against illegal immigrants, but now the sentiment has become very much anti-immigration, regardless of illegal or not. So yeah, I agree, but we'll have to see. So MS in AI, is it like afterwards? Is it possible for skilled based visa? Not sure what you mean, Athar. If you could maybe rephrase your question, I will try to answer it. Lower PSW and now maybe 10-year out only for ILR. Yeah, true. Yeah, because I think that was one of the very attractive factors for skilled workers to come to UK and work. Definitely, some of the people I knew, this was one of the key for them. So yeah, maybe it will. Yeah, maybe it will. I'm just putting my phone on silent. It's vibrating, so a bit distracting. Yeah, so 10 years uh, path to ILR may discourage a lot of skilled worker uh, people to come to UK, but government might be having some plans to take care of that skill shortage. We'll need to wait and see what they're going to do, but I personally don't have a very good feeling about it. So yeah, we'll see. But they did mention that they are going to invest in skill training and motivating people to take certain courses specifically for STEM related. But you can't force people to take STEM related courses, because if it is forced, it most likely won't go in the right direction. So If they're able to um, genuinely motivate people to take STEM related courses within the UK, then maybe after like 10-15 years they will be in a much better situation and they won't have to rely on immigration. But for now I think it's a bit difficult. US or UK, why is the best in both? I think I have answered this question quite a lot in the past live Q&A as well. But if you value, let's say, high salary and a lot more opportunity options, then maybe US uh, is your answer. You probably need to go there. But if you want to well, going back to Alan's question or the statement that he said, right now it's like 5 years to ILR, but if they make it 10 years, it will probably still be better than US, because in US you might just will be working on the H1B visa for your whole life and you will never be able to uh, probably get a green card. You may be, I don't know, but it's very difficult to get a green card there. So UK will still be better option. So if settlement is what you are after, then maybe UK is better than US. Is it true that companies prefer employees with ILR and UK citizenship nowadays after the protest? At the end of the day, companies want to have people with the right amount of skills, and if you can show companies that you certainly have better skills than the other person with ILR or citizenship, you will have better chances of securing that job. But you need to be exceptionally better than the other person, is because companies will be ready to make some kind of trade-off. So if they're hiring, let's say, someone on ILR or UK citizen, or the person is UK citizen, then they don't need to pay for skilled worker visa, and the expense of hiring that particular person will be a little bit cheaper as compared to someone who doesn't have these two things. And if a company is hiring someone with ILR and UK citizenship, then they can put them on some sensitive projects as well, because for that they need some security checks as well, and for that you need to be in the UK for at least 5 years. So if you are in the UK for 5 years, you can always get ILR, at least for now. So um yeah, so if that person has the skill which is probably, let's say, 10% lower than yours, but then they have all those things, company might still be more inclined towards the person with ILR. But if you are, let's say, 50% better than the other person, or even let's say 40% better than the person with ILR, you will still have preference, and company will be okay to spend and invest in you. So you have to have some really exceptional skills and good at what you really do to compete against people with ILR and UK citizenship. So as a decision setting about UK is best, right? Yeah, if you prefer to have, if you want to settle outside or settle abroad, then yeah, UK is still better than US. But you also need to consider that climatic conditions, culture, and everything. So those things are very uh, subjective. So it can vary from people to people. I prefer UK's culture over US culture. So that's the reason I am here. But if you prefer US's culture over UK culture, then probably for you, US might be the better option. So that is something which I'll have to leave it to you, which you need to decide. Some say the companies reject CVs with even foreign surname, maybe because they don't want to hassle of giving a skilled visa and getting license from the government. Yeah, true. If a company is very small and they don't already have a license to sponsor someone, they would prefer to have someone who doesn't need any kind of visas. So that is true. It happens, and I made a video a while back where only 3% of the companies make use of skilled worker visa. Sorry, a post-study work visa, and I think approximately 50% of the companies don't even know whether it was 50% or 30%. I don't remember, but I think quite a lot of companies don't even know post-study work visa is a thing. So yeah, I agree. I agree to that. Some companies just don't want to deal with that kind of hassle. Which MBA would be the best after MS in AI? I don't know because I don't know much about MBA, so it would be really hard for me to comment on that. Classic data science versus Gen AI, which has more job opportunities? I have been hearing that Gen AI bubble is slowly bursting. Is it true? It certainly is true. People have put quite a lot of investment in Gen AI, and unnecessarily so. And I'm seeing a lot of companies as well, where if there is a project which will be built or developed using traditional data science, and then there is another project which will be built using Gen AI, the project with Gen AI will get approval very quickly and fundings as well, even though it's more expensive to develop. And probably it will give return maybe similar to what you can do with traditional data science, or maybe sometimes even less, but it will get preference over traditional data science. And companies are slowly realizing it, and the fundings are being monitored quite a lot now. So this bubble will certainly burst quite soon. So that's why I always mention, and I have always been saying this, that be good with your basics. Yes, knowing all these fancy stuff will definitely help, and it's always good to keep yourself updated and learn all these things. But if your basics are not very strong, you will definitely struggle in the market when the bubble bursts. So yeah, I always recommend to have the basics and foundations done right, and then after that you can build upon that and try to learn about Gen AI stuff. Hi Roshan, I hope you're doing well. Saw your content few years ago. Since then, came here, finished masters from University of Bath, working at Total Energies, and now already looking for the next opportunity. That's very good, Rishabh, and I'm really glad to hear that you were able to finish your masters and then eventually found a role as well. So I'm really happy for you, and now that you're looking for opportunities, I'm sure you will be able to find something with the experience that you would have gained and some of the other things that you might have learned in your current role. Can you next Saturday? Hope so. Yeah, most likely I will be doing live Q&A next Saturday as well. Let me quickly see if there is anything on the calendar for next Saturday. No, doesn't seem like it. So yeah, I should be able to do um, live Q&A next Saturday. It's just some of those off weeks where either I have something else or there are some issues because of which I can't do live Q&As. Usually I try to do these live Q&As every Saturday. So yeah, I will be doing this live Q&A again next Saturday. Okay, I am not seeing any other questions in the chat, so I'm assuming we might be reaching the end of live Q&A. If you find these live Q&As helpful, please do give it a thumbs up. It keeps me motivated to come here and answer your questions. And if you have any questions, you can either send it on the Telegram group or Discord server, or you can post it in the comments. I usually reply to most of the comments. Two companies give preference to Russell Group University students more. I am planning to study at Brunel University, which is a mid-tier university, and about a bit concerned that I might not be able to get much calls. So it's not like if you have done your masters from, let's say, mid-tier university, you won't be getting calls, because when we have hired in the past for our team and across the organizations, university name doesn't really play that big of a role unless you have like universities like Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, Edinburgh, LSE, things like that. That is a completely different scenario. Those are really the top tier universities. But when it comes to any other Russell Group universities or the universities which are not Russell Group, it doesn't really matter that much. If you have like a very good portfolio, lot of good projects on your GitHub, and a very good profile, I think that's all what matters. But let's say you have a CV which looks very similar to someone else, but you've done your masters from Brunel University and the other person has done their masters from one of the Russell Group universities. Chances are they might get call before you, but if they are not able to clear the interview or not able to answer the questions properly, then most likely the company is going to give you a call as well. So the name of the university is usually used as a tiebreaker rather than a selection criteria. So yeah, that is one of the important things that you probably need to know. So if you don't have, if you can stretch your budget a bit and go to Russell Group universities, then by all means, yeah, go ahead, because you'll have a little bit of an edge. But if you absolutely can't stretch your budget and this is the best that you can do, in that case I would recommend don't force yourself to go to Russell Group University. You will be perfectly fine going to any other university, because I have seen some people from, let's say, Northumberland University. So Northumberland University, which is not a Russell Group University, and it's probably very similar to Brunel University. They have done their masters from that university, and then they were able to find a job, and they have even got sponsorship now. So it doesn't really matter which university you go to. At the end of the day, it all depends on your profile, projects that you do. Thought I will give you an update since I saw you a couple of years ago. Would also love to connect with you and stay in touch. Is LinkedIn the right? Yeah, definitely. LinkedIn is the place where we can certainly connect, and yeah, I would really like to be in touch. That is always good to see that. Uh, See, like people like you, Rishabh, coming to UK or going to any other country and then doing masters and then eventually be able to find a job and everything's going good. So it's always good to uh, see that side as well, because I would say this is less common than the other side where a lot of people come, do masters, then go back because they couldn't find things. So it's always good to be in touch with both kind, as long as you want to be in touch. So yeah, I'd be happy to connect on LinkedIn. So we have approximately like 20-second lag. So I will wait for 20 more seconds, and then if I don't see any other questions, um, then that would be it. Perfect. Well, I'll drop you a connection. All the best and have a great weekend. You too, Rishabh. I could only afford a mid-tier university, and in Brunel the course of MSc AI was only 19k after scholarship compared to above 30k. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to uh, stretch your budget because that's a pretty massive stretch. So it's fine. Just keep yourself honest and keep working towards different projects. Try to learn as much as you can, make most out of the resources that university has. Don't miss any opportunity to network with people. So yeah, always keep pushing and try to make most out of the resources that university is providing. I think if you are able to do that, I think you'll be perfectly fine. And I'm not saying that someone going to Russell Group University don't need to do all of those things to be able to find a job in such a competitive job market. People going to Russell Group University will also have to do that. I personally did my master's from Newcastle University, and it's a Russell Group University. But I did everything I could, going to different meetups, attending all the seminars, webinars, conferences held by university, any, what do you call them, job fairs. Yeah, I used to go there as well. So, and along with that, I worked on a lot of personal projects as well. So yeah, I would say if you do all those things regardless of your university, I think you'll have a better chance than uh, anyone else going to Russell Group University and not doing those things. I got your connection request. Oh, no connection request is. I think we are already connected. Thanks for accepting. I almost have what I start application process. Yeah, you already have sent a message as well before. True, and I hope things have changed quite a lot. Yeah, but for good. So that's always good. Did your friends also get job in data science who didn't have any prior experience in data science? Yes. So there were a lot of examples. Some people, they didn't have any experience, like zero experience straight out of the college. They did masters and they were able to find a job. But then there were other people who had like 9, 10 years of experience in pharmacy. They didn't know how to code. They were able to find a job as well, but they did put quite a lot of effort. They spent quite some time in labs. Sometimes I've seen them in lab till, I don't know, 9:30. I think that's when the lab used to close, I think. So that's so they used to stay till that late, probably even till 11, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, so people have stayed in labs working on different projects, working on assignments, trying to learn stuff till quite late. So I have seen people without any experience, or if you can say irrelevant experience, they were able to find a job. Will you say doing part-time jobs takes away a lot of learning time? It does, and people who spend quite a lot of time doing part-time job, they didn't find a job in the UK, and eventually they had to go back. So part-time jobs are okay, but uh, do it to a point where you're able to support yourself but not sacrificing any of your learning time. So part-time jobs are a bit tricky ones. You might be able to make money during your studies and it might feel good, but it might affect your future um, future opportunities in relevant domains. So you need to make that trade-off, like how much you want to spend your time in part-time jobs and how much time you would like to spend uh, in your learning and skill building. One other thing is, if you are able to find an internship in, let's say, data science, that would be the best case scenario, and that's what I did. So that way I was able to learn and earn at the same time. So I was doing an internship in NICA, National Innovation Center of Aging. So yeah, I was able to earn as well as learn, and then I was able to use that project as a dissertation as well. So that one internship did quite a lot for me and reduced some workload, because if I hadn't got that internship, and let's say if I was doing a part-time job, then I would have had to do a part-time job. I would have had to do some different projects to learn new stuff, and then I had to do dissertation project separately. So I had to do like three different things, but with internship I was able to just do all those things in one project. Will they take interview for internships as well? Yes, they do take interviews for internships, but it's usually quite brief and you won't have as many rounds as you would have in a full-time job. So that's that. And well, it depends from company to company as well, but in general what I've seen is it's quite brief. They will just ask like what you are learning in your university, what you already know, and they might give you some use cases that you may have to solve, but other than that it's quite brief. Do we apply for internships during holidays break? um, No, I won't suggest applying. Well, you can apply during breaks as well, yes, but I would suggest you can start applying after your first semester. But if you feel confident that you know enough stuff, you can apply for internship right from the get go. So, as soon as you start your course, you can start looking for internships. I think that is best way to do it because you will be learning as well as trying to find an internship. But if you feel like you just don't know anything about data science, you are too new to this particular field, as you say that you are new to data science, but I'm sure you probably would have learned programming. If you haven't, I would highly recommend learning programming before you start your masters in data science, and probably bit of like basic stuff, like how different algorithms work, maths, stat, and those kind of things. If you can do a Udemy course, I think you'll be fine and you can start applying for internship right from the get go. But if you are just not comfortable with any of the topics, then I would suggest after your first semester is the right time to start applying for internships. Are internships also like part time in the UK, only 20 hours? Yes. So you can only work for 20 hours per week if you are in your term time, but if you are in a term break, in that case you can work for 40 hours per week. Usually internships are either 20 hours or less than that. So my internship was, I think, 15 to 18 hours per week, something like that, if I remember it correctly. So yeah, it works in a similar way as that of part-time job. I only know Python, a bit of pandas and matplotlib. That's pretty much it for now. That's fine. Yeah, I think you should be able to analyze the data, so you can still apply for internships. Try to apply. And if you still have some time, I would suggest maybe pick up a few other skills. But if not, that is fine. You can still do some data analysis stuff. Very bad at lead code, as I can only solve problem which I have seen before. Yeah, it takes time. When you start solving problems, one thing is that you need to think in a way the program thinks, and the other thing is you need to get used to the UI, how things work, how test cases work. And just a second, my brother is calling. Well, we are anyways 1 hour, so I'll just answer this last question and then I will probably take my brother's call. I'm not able to reject as well. That's fine. So yeah, you need to get used to the UI and how everything works, how test cases are set up, and how to clear all the test cases, how to think in a way that you uh, you can cover all the test cases. So there are quite a lot of things. So what I would suggest is start with easy problems on lead code, but then in easy also you need to check the completion rate. So if completion rate is quite high, try to solve them because a lot of people have solved it. But once you're able to do it, then slowly you can start to solve some complex problems. Is Excel and SQL important for data science? Excel maybe, but I personally am not expert in Excel. I can just do some filtering, sorting, those kind of things, maybe some pivot chart and things like that, but nothing more than that. SQL is certainly very important because when you want to do some quick exploration within any kind of database, I think SQL is your best friend. So I would highly recommend learning SQL properly. So yeah. Okay, yeah, we are over 1 hour, and it was great talking to you, Ellen, and anyone else who is still here. But yeah, I will see you next Saturday, 12 p.m. UK time, to answer more of your questions. In the meantime, have a great weekend and happy learning. Bye.